Fox News Alert, we promised you President Trump. Here he is.
Thank you very much. I just want to say before we begin, these are all Biden trials. This is done as election interference. Everybody knows it. I'm here instead of being able to be in Pennsylvania and Georgia and lots of other places campaigning. And it's very unfair. Fortunately, the poll numbers are very good. They've been going up because people understand what's going on. This is a witch hunt, and it's a shame. And it comes out of Washington. It's in coordination with Washington, everything, including the DA's office. It's in coordination with Washington. I just want people to understand that this is done for purposes of hurting the opponent of the worst president in the history of our country. Second of all, we have another trial going on right now. That's Letitia James. She campaigned on the fact that I will get Trump. I'm going to get Trump. And it has to do with a bond of $175 million. First of all, she doesn't want me to participate with financial companies in New York. So we have a company, I guess, based in California. It's a bonding company. And I put up $175 million in cash. But she says the bonding company's not good. She doesn't like the bonding company because she doesn't know if the collateral is good. And I put up $175 million in cash, and she's questioning the bonding company. Well, when you put up cash, and the number is 175, which is what we're supposed to be putting up, but I give it in cash, she shouldn't be complaining about the bonding company. The bonding company would be good for it because I put up the money. And I have plenty of money to put up, but nobody is going to be putting up with this. Nobody is going to be listening or coming to New York anymore. Businesses are going to be fleeing because people are treated so badly. It's got to be the most unfriendly place to do business, and that's why businesses are leaving and people are leaving as migrants come in and take over our parks and our schools and everything else. So on the Letitia James case, she's the worst attorney general in the country, by the way. On Letitia, and she keeps a lot of business out of New York, and businesses that are here are leaving. And that means jobs and a lot of revenue. Somebody's going to step in. The governor or somebody has to step in and do something because your businesses are fleeing. But on Letitia James, the money was put up. It's $175 million. And I don't think she's complaining about me for the first time ever. She's complaining about the company. But why would she be doing that when I put up the money? So I just want you to know that that's taking place in front of an extremely crazed judge who's the most overturned judge in New York State. He was overturned 4 or 5 times on that case alone. That's, you know who it is. I don't have to mention names. I want to be nice. I want to be very nice. But a thing like that, and a thing like what's going on right here should never be happening. It's a very, very sad day in America, I can tell you that. Thank you very much.
The Biden administration was reportedly blindsided by the scale of Iran's attack against Israel. The Wall Street Journal details the behind-the-scenes Situation Room meeting on April 13th as 30 missiles quickly and suddenly became 300. Fox News strategic analyst, retired General Jack Keane, is with us now. Just set this up with a senior Biden administration official saying the scale of Tehran's first-ever direct attack on Israel matched U.S. spy agencies' worst-case scenarios. This was on the high end, I think, of what we were anticipating, he said. What do you have to give us that can help us understand that whole scenario and what they're trying to say behind the scenes?
Yeah, well, I think certainly what Iran did that night surprised everybody in terms of the scale of it. You know, for our audience to recall, Iran has never conducted a direct attack against Israel, has always chosen to use its proxies. And secondly, despite Israelis killing nuclear scientists, other military officials in Iran, blowing up a portion of the Natanz uranium enrichment nuclear site, conducting airstrikes at the Damascus International Airport against Iran's weapons warehouse, despite all of these things and no reaction from Iran, certainly after a number of days, it became obvious that Iran had made a decision they were going to conduct an attack themselves. But even though everyone had that intelligence, no one anticipated the scale of this attack that would exceed, 300 plus missiles and drones. And what the Iranians really did, they took a page out of the Russian playbook here, because the Russians evolved to this point where they mixed lots of drones with cruise missiles, standoff from the country itself, using largely aircraft to do that, and then ballistic missiles at scale. certainly not at the scale that the Iranians did, but they were using that Russian playbook, which has been working inside of Ukraine. But fundamentally, when they saw the 30 missiles, then 60 missiles, they still did not anticipate, Dana, that there would be 120 ballistic missiles. And certainly that grabbed everybody. And they obviously were likely saying some prayers that the defense system would work. And you've got to credit what the IDF multi-layered system did, and certainly what the United States warfighting headquarters in the region did to organize a multinational defense against this, which was so successful.
And speaking of the IDF, there was news also over the weekend that the intel chief has resigned because of intelligence failures that didn't warn the country about October 7th when they were attacked on that terrible day. This is accountability, leadership?
Yeah, most definitely. He offered his resignation almost immediately within the first few days of that, but they asked him to stay on because they knew it would be so disruptive given they had their hands full in going to war in Gaza. So he's waited to the 6 months and now walked away. And he has assumed full responsibility for his role in this, but there will be others held accountable here. I mean, there are reports out, much like we found out concerning 9/11, that the Israelis had some idea that there was going to be a comprehensive attack against them as much as a year out, but they discounted it because they didn't think it was in, quote, Hamas's capability. The Egyptians gave them a heads up that something big was coming, and we'll have to get the autopsy and the details to find out what distracted them, what did they really miss. Was the violence in the West Bank that was taking place a distraction? Was the political distraction of the dispute over the reform of the Supreme Court, where hundreds of thousands of people were in the streets demonstrating? And also, what did they miss in terms of the training and preparation? I mean, they've got huge technological oversight of what has taken place. To miss all of that is really quite stunning. So it'll be, at the end of the day, it's going to be some report. And I think our viewers understand that while the majority of Israelis are supporting the war in Gaza and the aims that President Netanyahu and his war cabinet have established, the majority of the people in Israel also, when the war is over, are expecting Prime Minister Netanyahu to resign, and if he runs for re-election, would likely not be elected because they are already holding him accountable to what took place on October the 7th.
Yep, and that autopsy, as you say, is underway, and it will be a stunner, and we'll learn a lot from it. General Jack Keane, thank you. You're looking live at Columbia University, which is facing this full-blown crisis as anti-Israel protests ramp up on campus. Now, with Passover set to begin at sundown, a rabbi there putting out a chilling warning for Jewish students there, recommending they stay home until safety is improved. Joining us now is Columbia University student Eden Yadigar, and it is wonderful to have you here. I know that you've gone home. You were planning to go home for Passover, but you had that statement from the rabbi yesterday. How did that make you feel?
Thank you so much for having me. Well, the unfortunate reality is that Columbia University is not safe right now, and it's especially not safe for its Jewish students. What we're seeing, unfortunately, isn't very surprising. You know, we're witnessing really the culmination of 6 months of anti-Semitism that is being reinforced by a complete lack of leadership, even despite several warnings, lawsuits, and a congressional investigation. You know, this is really, it's inevitable, and it is the result of seething anti-Semitism in action and gaslighting from our leadership.
One of your leaders is Columbia President Manoush Shafiq. She said that the decibel of our disagreements has only increased in recent days. These tensions have been exploited and amplified by individuals who are not affiliated with Columbia, who have come to campus to pursue their own agendas. We need a reset, and one of those resets will be virtual school. What do you think about what she's saying here about the tensions are exploited and amplified by individuals not affiliated with Columbia? Do you believe that's true?
I do believe that that's a very big part of it. But I do believe that individuals affiliated with Columbia need to be held accountable as well. And Columbia has conditioned its students and faculty alike to believe that they can repeatedly violate Columbia's policies without consequence. That's what we've seen over the last 6 months. And now Columbia's reputation is paying the price, and Columbia's students, and especially Jewish students, are paying the price.
Campbell Brown is well known to some people. She was a journalist for a long time. She married Dan Senor, who's a good friend of ours. They have 2 sons. They are not in college yet, but she said last night on Twitter, "I'm on my way to Israel, where my 2 sons will be safer and feel more welcome than they would be today on the Upper West Side." And I felt I felt terrible for her, and I wondered about that feeling of being insecure. And thinking that maybe you're going to need either to make a tough decision about returning to Columbia if they don't get this situation under control.
It's frightening because anti-Semitism is a deeply American issue, and what we're seeing now is no longer just about Jewish people. It is deeply anti-American, anti-Western, and it's completely antithetical to Columbia's values. And we Jewish students have really been sounding the alarm for months, and we've been met with nothing but repeated silence from our leadership. And I really think that the most disturbing part is that this particular onslaught of anti-Semitism, which I think is the worst we've seen on campus since October 7th, was brought on when Columbia finally admitted in Congress on Wednesday that we do have an anti-Semitism problem here. But again, it isn't just about the Jews anymore. This is about America, and this is about people that are deeply anti-American.
Eden, Congresswoman Elise Stefanik put out a statement calling for the Columbia president to resign, saying that over the past few months, and especially the last 24 hours, Columbia's leadership has clearly lost control of its campus, putting Jewish students' safety at risk. President Shafiq must resign immediately. Do you agree?
I mean, Columbia University as a whole has proved completely incompetent in addressing this issue. I believe that the person in the leadership role, frankly, doesn't matter, but what does matter is what they do. And right now, we're witnessing an institutional failure across the board. It isn't just the president at Columbia that's the problem. We need an institution that's going to start leading and clarifying what is acceptable and what is not acceptable, and then actually following through and enforcing that. And unfortunately, we haven't seen that.
Eden, thank you for coming on, and may you and your family have a peaceful Passover tonight, and I hope things get better and you can get back to school and studying, which is what you wanted to do in the first place. Eden, thank you.
Thank you so much.
But we have, joining us now,
Yes.
Doug Burgum, the North Dakota governor, who is also supporting out on the campaign trail President Trump. So, good morning. Great to have you here.
Great to have you here, and on today especially.
Yeah, great
You know,
to be here.
I mean, you're watching this really surreal scene here as President Trump is juggling all of these cases and also running for president at the same time. He's calling this election interference. Alvin Bragg is calling it election interference from 2016. What do you make of it this morning as you watch the president?
Well, it is incredible. Here we are in New York, and we've got a former president of the United States in a sham trial. I mean, this is a 7-year-old business filing issue that's being trumped up into 34 felonies, and that whole thing is crazy. I mean, it's like if it was a business filing case, it should have never been dropped. It's not urgent. It's clearly an election interference, and the idea that they can take something that would normally in business be a misdemeanor and turn it into 34 felonies. It's like someone was alleged for jaywalking, but every step you take is a felony. The whole thing is bizarre. But then juxtapose that against the fact that we've got these protests going on at Columbia and Yale, and then we've got people like saying that the world was somehow Trump is a threat to democracy. I mean, Joe Biden is a threat to democracy. When we think about the world is at war, we're funding terrorism, both apparently we're supporting it at home with protests and funding it across with Iran. So it's like everybody, all of this chaos that's going on, the average citizen understands they were better off under President Trump than they were under Joe Biden.
One of the things he said just now as he made opening comments before opening statements in the trial is that he said, despite all of this, despite me having to be here, my poll numbers are going up. And I think there's some question on that. There are polls that show Biden ticking up as well. But here was President Trump at trying to do a rally on the weekends when he's able to travel to a battleground state in North Carolina. Unfortunately, there was bad weather. Listen to him here.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Donald Trump, your favorite president of all time, hopefully. As you can see, there's some very bad weather heading in, and we're flying in a few minutes, but they really would prefer that we not come in because there's a certain danger to all of this, and we want to make sure that everybody is safe above all.
And one of the things I thought of is you can't buy a break, right? With the weather, it was bad in a lot of different places this week. But as you are listening around, I know you're a supporter of his now. What do you hear from people out there about him being stuck here when he should be campaigning in those battleground states?
Well, this is again back to the sham trial. He'd be doing 2 rallies a day. You know that. You know that he loves getting out and talking to real Americans and real people, and he's campaigning on the issues. And one of the reasons why this is election interference is because when President Trump campaigns, he talks about inflation, he talks about the border, he talks about public safety, he talks about stopping the wars and stopping the killing. These are the issues that are matter to the voters. And so every day that the Democrats can keep him sitting in the courtroom is a win for them. And so it is absolutely, it's election interference, and it is so unfair to the public and to our country to have this happening.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see when the Supreme Court weighs in on the immunity issue and whether or not that has an impact on some of these other situations as well. But I want to ask you about the third-party issue, because Dana just mentioned the latest polling, and let's put up the headline poll here, which is Trump versus Biden. This is a new NBC poll, has Trump up 2 in the head-to-head, but in the 5-way race, which includes Kennedy, Jill Stein, and Cornel West, Biden is ahead by 2 points. There's been a lot of discussion over who Kennedy helps or hurts, and we're seeing mixed bag in the swing state polls with regard to that. What do you think about him in this race as a factor?
Well, I think if you have a Kennedy on the ballot, America is going to understand that a Kennedy on the ballot's a Democrat, and this is a Green New Deal loving candidate in terms of Kennedy, and it's also in terms of he likes taxes. And so if he gets on the ballot and he's in the race, that's a win for President Trump for sure, because you got two Democrats, Biden and Kennedy, that'll be splitting the vote. And with Kennedy, I know that young people somehow the under 30 numbers look like they're going towards him, but that's where Joe Biden's trying to hang on to those votes, and those under 30, a lot of those are shifting over to President Trump. So it's early in that sense that people don't know really who RFK Jr. is, but when they find out that he's for taxes and spending the same way that Joe Biden is, great, bring it on, let him split that Democrat vote.
I think it was a big wake-up call when he got on the Michigan ballot last week. That was a pretty it was a clever move on their behalf, and Biden team has gone after them. I imagine that Trump's will as well. I just want to also play this for you. Hillary Clinton said that what President Trump really wants to do is to basically totally get rid of his opposition. Watch her here.
Trump was like, just gaga over Putin, because Putin does what he would like to do: kill his opposition, imprison his opposition, drive, journalists and others into exile, rule without any check or balance. That's what Trump really wants.
What do you think of her on the campaign trail for Biden?
Oh, I think this is the height of hypocrisy. I mean, wow. I mean, really? I mean, the folks that thought that the 2016 election was stolen, I mean, the original election deniers are out there trying to make a case that somehow we're safer under Biden. Under Joe Biden, the high cost of Joe Biden's weakness is coming home to roost in all of these bills we're having to pass right now, whether it's Ukraine, Israel, Taiwan. I mean, Joe Biden's weakness, starting with Afghanistan, is costing world peace. It's leading us towards World War III. And then she's saying that somehow, we're less safe. President Trump, the world clearly was safer under President Trump. We weren't at war. We had inflation under control. I mean, it's a crazy false argument, and American people are going to see right through it.
Right. And the part also where she says imprison his opposition.
And then what's happening right now? They're literally the whole point of this trial is to try to take President Trump off the.
It's great to have you here.
Yeah.
Thanks
and
for
a very tight
by.
race, so it's going to be very interesting.
Thanks for being here. We appreciate you.
Governor, good to see you.
Thank you.
Nice to see you
both.
again. Thank you for coming here.
And a bipartisan congressional delegation just arriving in Kyiv following the passage of a $61 billion Ukraine aid package in the House. Senior foreign affairs correspondent Greg Palcott got a firsthand look at where the money is going, and he is live from Kyiv. Good morning, Greg.
Hi, Dana. Yeah, that U.S. military aid package for Ukraine should be arriving here just in time. But I repeat, just in time. The Russians have been outfiring the Ukrainian artillery by a ratio of 10-1. Air defense missiles have been sparse, allowing Russian rockets to wreak havoc on Ukrainian infrastructure. And ahead of a looming spring-summer offensive by Russian military, Moscow had already taken over big swaths of Ukrainian territory. No wonder that Ukraine's President Zelensky was thrilled over the weekend to see House Republicans with a huge help from Democrats pass that aid bill. Experts here with the knowledge of weaponry were happy to. Take a listen.
It's really critical because, according to Zelensky, he was very straightforward that if no package was provided, we were on the verge of Russian breakthrough.
The verge of a Russian breakthrough. And to get a first-hand look, as you noted, a congressional delegation from the House, 2 Republicans and 2 Democrats are now right here in Kyiv, aiming to get an exact idea of where your taxpayer dollars are going. Remember, the bill isn't there quite yet. The Senate has to okay that. That's set for Tuesday, and then President Biden's got to sign it. One would imagine that would be soon after that, and then the weapons can start rolling. Back to you.
Greg Palcott, thank you for the update.
So that was the scene at Yale over the weekend. Anti-Israel protests turning violent, injuring our next guest. She wrote a column on this saying, quote, "I was stabbed in the eye at Yale. The school has allowed anti-Israel students to run roughshod over their most basic policies. Yesterday," she writes, "I paid the price for their inaction." Yale student Sahar Tartak needed hospital treatment for that injury. She is doing well now, which we're happy to say, and she joins us now. Sahar, welcome. It's good to have you with us. Your piece is very moving on this morning in the Free Press. Tell me a little bit about what was going on when you were there. What did you see all around you? And then what happened?
Sure, of course. So over the past week or so at Yale, anti-Semitic student protesters have taken over a central plaza on our campus, setting up a tent encampment, among other things, pictures to commemorate terrorists. And this culminated in multiple nights of overnight encampment in the central plaza and protests with hundreds of people. I think it was 500 when I came on Saturday night. And as soon as I was identified with my friend who wears a black hat as visibly Orthodox Jewish students, I was immediately blockaded by protest organizers. And everywhere I walked, there was a line of protest organizers standing in front of me, linking arms, so that I could not walk forward. And the rest of the students at the rally noticed this, the other 500 students at this violent rally, and they saw me, and so they began to taunt me as well because they recognized that I was something that they view as an enemy. And finally, the taunting continued and escalated, and I was just there to record them. And the taunting escalated until somebody waved a Palestinian flag in my face and then jabbed me in my left eye. And from there, when I tried to run after him, the human blockade of protest organizers continued to stand in front of me to stop me from catching my assailant. And so I went to the hospital.
Yeah, it's extraordinary. It's stunning. We're just looking at the banner that they're holding up on liberation, and there's a great irony because right behind it is a memorial on campus to those who fought in. See the letters right behind this banner. They say, "In memory of the men of Yale who, true to our traditions, gave their lives that freedom might not perish." What do you think about that? And what do you think about what the leadership at Yale is upholding today?
Yeah, so this plaza includes a World War II memorial. And a couple nights ago, hundreds of students cheered and screamed "Viva, Viva Palestina" as they tore down the American flag from the flagpole, and it took days for them to face minimal repercussions. Today there were some arrests, and then many of the students who were arrested were then released to return to a protest.
You know, we're looking at these scenes, and prominent in many of them in these videos are watermelons. If you could explain the meaning of that to us, and also the chanting of "from the river to the sea." We know studies were done back in December that showed that many of the people who were saying it had no idea what river and what sea. Sahar.
Sure. So we've seen the watermelon all over campus. It's supposed to be a symbol basically against the Jewish people, and in favor, like all the other symbols that these students are using, in favor of violent, terroristic acts against Jews in the state of Israel as a form of liberation. I mean, these students have chanted, "There is only one solution, Intifada revolution,"
That's right.
which is a direct reference to uprisings that included suicide bombs in Israel and killed civilians. After October 7th, they absolutely celebrated and, of course, justified these events en masse. Yeah, I know those students. Sorry, I just recognized one of them from class. Like, this is really... It's really painful to realize that your peers have joined the Nazi party.
It's stunning and very personal for you. It is. I feel for you, and we're glad that your eye is okay. I know that your mother had her eye injured in Iran in a not dissimilar situation. Thank you for your bravery. Thanks for coming on and talking to us today, Sahar. Sahar Tatak.
Thank you so much. God bless you.
You as well.
In the soft embrace of morning light, rocky and rugged, hopefully sight, a whisper of promise, a sense so sweet, reviving energy with every heartbeat. Oh yeah, stumbling down the stairs with grace, favorite moment, cherished embrace. Each sip, a dance of enchantment, caffeine's elixir, a daily enchantment. Ooh, yeah. Coffee in the morning, my lifeline, guiding through life's chaotic design, finding every sip of morning zest. In that brew, I find my best. The morning sun, a gentle caress, bathing the world in warmth no less. A symphony of flavors in every pore, awakening senses, a ritual to adore. The kitchen hums a quiet tune as dreams unfold not too soon. Pouring the elixir, stories take flight. In the world of coffee, my spirit aligns. A mug cradled, a vessel of tales. Each sip, a dialogue as morning unveils. Bitterness, a new world of tales. As the day unfolds, a caffeinated tale in morning symphony, where moments prevail. Coffee, my companion in the sunrise quest, in the ritual of morning, my eternal zest. The world awakens, a canvas so bright, in the palette of dawn, a captivating sight. A dance of flavors, a morning trance. In the world of coffee, life's sweet romance.